I'm willing to bet almost in every single one of those books that you just showed, as far as like financial wealth, the first step is always paying yourself first. So like that's why I will never no matter.
Let me tell y'all something, okay? If there's one piece of advice that Vaughn has given me, or has changed my life, it's paying me first. I have three different automatic withdrawals that come out of my bank account that go into my savings. And truly, I have one that happens daily. I have one that happens once a month. And then I have one that happens every time I get paid. And I'm looking at my savings like, what the?
Listen.
Go ahead.
That's why I tell everybody. Like, that's literally.
I got excited.
Yeah, it excited me the first time I figured it out too. And then it upset me. It was like, why didn't nobody tell me this sooner? Like, that's my whole premise, even like in my books. So that's like, why? That was like the first thing I learned that just flipped everything. Like, why didn't nobody teach me this? Why isn't this common knowledge, especially in the Black community? But I guarantee every one of those books, that'll be the first thing they say. So that's why I'll always talk about it. Like, that's the first thing I'll teach Greg. That was the first phrase I taught him. Pay yourself first. And now we're talking about cash flow quadrants. That's our thing now. But, it's never too early to put those words in. All right, Grayson, what's the tip of the day?
Pay yourself first.
Why in school didn't they teach us to just write a book?
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!
You know what I like? I like that. I'm sorry. No, I'm always here. I like that you are in one part of your journey. And I'm like kind of at the beginning, like, and people can see that,
Yeah.
Because you got all your fancy stuff. Like, you got your shirt with your logo, you got your background, got your books, and I got my sandwich.
I'm gonna read you this post. First of all, because it's funny because you said fancy, because like, if you think this is fancy, wait till I get to where I want you, or really how I want it. You know what I mean? Well, that just shows like but that goes to your point, like what people, like one person at one point of the journey, another person at the beginning, and like the perception, like, oh, this person's really got it. Wait, like, oh, this is nice. And like me, I'm thinking about that next level of nice, even though like you really like this is nice stuff too. Like, cause you think about where you started too. Like I didn't have the green screen with the logo. I just had a fucking video of me recording, just trying shit. Like, you know what I mean? And
right. And I think it's good for people to see like the different phases, right? Because imagine like once you get to your next level, and then once I level up, it's gonna be like, oh, okay, I see the growth.
Well, that's what people want to see. People want to see the journey. So it's like, that's like marketing 101. Like they want to see the journey. They can't relate to the person that was just like appeared in this. They can't relate to Superman. All right, they relate to that person. Like, man, I remember when you didn't have shit. Or like, I remember you was fumbling over the words, and like now, and it was like, man, you just give people hope. But the post I read today said is by, I don't know if I'm saying this dude's name right. I don't want to butcher his name, but Mahadi Woodward. He be spitting fire, so if you don't follow him, probably should follow him.
Say it again.
Mahadi.
Mahadi.
MAHDIWOODR. Mahadi Woodward. I'll send you his thing. But he said, I never met a successful entrepreneur who started with enough money. Don't let a perceived lack of resources prevent you from being resourceful. So pretty much start with what you got. And boom. So to bring home your point with that, you gotta start. Before you know it, you can be like, you gonna have the setup, you gonna have the lights, you can be kick good in the seat.
You already know.
You know what I'm saying? So I plan to blow this thing out. Oh man, I plan to blow this thing out the park. Like, just to show you I don't be bullshitting. You know I don't be bullshitting. But because even check this out. My magic book. So, what does your ideal podcast setup look like? And like, you know, so it's like it starts with a vision. You're like, all right, where am I trying to get to? And I always thought Joe Rogan's podcast setup was pretty dope. I haven't listened to his in a while. I started listening to his podcast before like podcasts really blew up. I listened to him early.
Yeah.
But I always peeped his setup. I always thought it was dope. And that's kind of how I envision. So, which is why I need a bat cave. But all right, but let's go ahead and get into this. That was good. That was good.
That was good intro. Thank you.
that was fire. That's good. I feel like that's how they do it on talk shows. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's how they good intro talk.
Of course. So we need theme music. We need good like it's your girl Diamond SKY. And today I'm here with your boy Wealthy Delivery. Come on, Connors.
Yes. Me.
What up, my guy?
What's good?
Artist Bob?
I gotta get my One of these days I'm just gonna take like we're gonna do so many episodes. I'm just gonna snip every episode where I'm doing that and just put it in one big compilation. It's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah. You're gonna have to compile me telling you to stop doing it.
Hey.
Why?
And then that's kind of.
Okay.
Anyway. My gladiator in here.
How are you today? How is life treating you?
I'm feeling good. I feel accomplished. I feel like I've been on the last 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, you've been on 3.
I've been on a little streak.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that came from you let me take last week off. So shout out to you on that. I really needed that because I booked a bunch, like in that time frame, just in a week. I finished Nepotism for Dinner, got it uploaded.
You did what? You did what?
I finished Nepotism for Dinner, submitted to Amazon so they can print it. And also finished two books, 1 podcast. So that's really like 2 books in like less than a week, even though I was working on the first one for a while, but I wrapped them up at the same time, which today I really thought about today's episode. I really wanted to, I don't think I'm gonna do it on this episode, but there will be an episode, so just a little foreshadowing that I think I'm getting so good at this thing of writing books that I can write a book on this episode.
Let me just pop your collar from over here. What do you think, please?
Who I know I am? Because it's formulas, and once you figure out how to do a formula and do it efficiently, you realize the formula is not that long, and especially when there's no rules to certain things. 2 books, 1 podcast is not a long book. It's like 14 pages, but it's efficient 14. It's more like a skill book. See, I can write my storybooks with, An Hour Play He's 9 to 5 Away, Nepotism for Dinner, but I also want to throw in those skill books because, like, hey, you need to flip some money real quick. You need to learn a quick skill to put you back on top.
Is that?
I'm gonna do it through a podcast. Boom! Here you go.
An author, or is this man? Is this man an author?
You know what I'm saying?
I just
certain books serve different purposes. You know what I'm saying?
Thank your mom for that spaghetti and applesauce.
I like the moms.
So what's up? What we got going on today?
All right, but today that was on foreshadowing. But today I want to talk about. I'm gonna go a little different route. I know This is writer's block, but like to be a great writer, I think you also need to be a great reader. Reader's block today. We're going reader's block today.
Reader's block.
Reader's block. Who. So today I just want to talk about how I retain information faster from reading books. So like, you just bought 2 new books, didn't you? Or you just told me you grabbed a bunch of books, but
I did not buy
purposely.
Books. I got books donated to me. Oh my God. The Automatic Millionaire.
Oh yeah, I have that. That's why I got that bad boy right here.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Obviously, you need that.
Yeah, like 3 other books. The Millionaire Next Door.
Who wrote that?
Thomas J.
I read that before. I just don't remember the author. I've listened to that one. I didn't read it, but I listened to that one day while I was at work, when I worked the night shift. I mean, I listened to the whole thing. That's still David Bach. Is that another? Yep. So, okay. I guarantee in every one of those books, I'm willing to bet almost in every single one of those books that you just showed, as far as like financial wealth, the first step is always paying yourself first. So like, that's why I will never, no matter what.
Let me tell y'all something, okay? If there's one piece of advice that Vaughn has given me, and has changed my life, is paying me first. I have 3 different automatic withdrawals that come out of my bank account that go into my savings. And truly, I have one that happens daily. I have one that happens once a month. And then I have one that happens every time I get paid. And I'm looking at my savings like, what the?
Listen.
But go ahead.
That's why I tell everybody. Like, that's literally.
I got excited.
Yeah, it excited me the first time I figured it out too. And then it upset me. It was like, why didn't nobody tell me this sooner? Like, that's my whole premise, even like in my books. So that's like, why? That was like the first thing I learned that just flipped everything. Like, why didn't nobody teach me this? Why isn't this common knowledge, especially in the Black community? But I guarantee every one of those books, that'll be the first thing they say. So that's why I'll always talk about it. Like, that's the first thing I'll teach Greg. That was the first phrase I taught him. Pay yourself first. And now we're talking about cash flow quadrants. That's our thing now. But, it's never too early to put those words in his head. So, but yeah, I remember a quick story about that. Shout out my boy Daniel Jewell, if he ever watches this. I remember I was working with him one night, and I showed him, because by this point, when I learned that, that's when I created the 70-20-10. So like, I'm not, 70% living, 20% investing, 10% savings. And then I had like a spreadsheet on my computer, and I would just like enter my numbers. It was like tracking. So I would see like how much I would have in like 5 months, 6 months. Like if I just live by that, using my paycheck. And I showed this for one night. I showed this to a friend at work, and like I was just showing him, and he was like, he was in amazement. And then he was like, I remember we worked nights. So when we left in the morning, or we're walking out the building, and he like stops, he turns around, he's like, "Thanks for tonight." I'm like, "Hey man, ain't no thing." Like, I'm just as excited as he is. I'm like, "Hey man, ain't no thing." I'm glad to share some information that helped me. And then like maybe like 5 or 6 months later, I ended up working with him again one night. And he was like, "Dude, you won't believe how much money I saved since you told me that thing." Like, I'm like, "Bro."
Like, do you understand? Hey, and it's the crazy thing to me is that I just didn't even think about like, where has my money been going all that other time? It's just like I just been blowing money and not even. But now that it's like the money that I would have just been blowing on like random stuff, it literally just funnels into my savings, and I can spend it on other stuff. That is more important.
That made me like, that removed the fear of spending money. Like, you know what I mean? As far as, especially once you learn where to spend it, like it removed the fear of like investing in a course or investing in coaching and investing in a program, because like that's what that money's for anyway in my head. Like, so it's like, if you have a way of like, even if it's a job, if you have a way of regenerating that income specifically for that, like I have no problem spending it on, you know, somebody to make my book cover if I don't feel like it. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, that's what that money is specifically for. Like, no matter how much it's building up, like it's still, I used it to flip it. So, but yeah, nonetheless, yeah, that is pay yourself first, always. Which actually, in Nepotism for Dinner, is one of the principles that I say every Black family should live by. Everybody should pay themselves first. So, if you haven't got your copies of Nepotism for Dinner, you probably should, because the link's below. Small plug. So, how to retain information from books faster? Simple formula. You know, we love books. Obviously, we just spent like the first 15 minutes talking about it, and we both sitting here with a stack of books like some real nerds.
Any person who's a writer, though, like, can you call yourself a writer if you don't have a stack of books somewhere? You constantly reading.
So, I want to talk about how we can take what we got, these books, and not just have them sitting around, and then actually do something with the information. So, there's a formula for everything, like I said. Formula number 1. There's a lot of books in the world, so you gotta find a way to like trim that down, because like you almost want to read everything. You know what I mean? It's like you see a book, like ooh, like it's like a movie. You know what I'm saying? So I usually only go for books that were recommended to me by someone that I respect in a certain area or is actually doing what they're talking about in the book. So somebody I'm really trying to learn from. So a lot of my books are just like a lot of recommendations from like networking and like a circle of people that I know, friends that I kind of respect. So mentors. And that way they kind of can give you you get a quality summary of the book too before you even go into it, when you get it from like somebody you kind of respect. And so you kind of know what the main point you want to take away from your book or from that book. Also, you can ask them like what specific areas should you look for in the book too. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's hard to just sit and like read a book from cover to back, especially if you read a lot of them. But like, if you know, like, all right, what specific information you look for, you can kind of break it down that way. Because like the goal is to get that key information from the book, so you can go implement it. But, which leads me to formula number 2. If you do want to read from cover to cover, which is what I do most times, if it's something like this book right here, I'm reading cover to cover. I'm almost done. Copywriting Secrets. It's fire. But when I remember when I used to watch a lot of stuff on Netflix or like series or movies, I remember I limited myself when I really got serious about entrepreneurship. I limited myself to one show, not per day, but like just one shit. Like, so if I was watching like let's say like, I think How to Get Away with Murder was on at that time. Like, that would be the only show I'll watch. Like anything else, I'm either studying or like watching YouTube videos, learning. So, which was nice about that, it was a new show every week. So I only watch TV, like that show. I mean, I watch TV other times, but like really invest in the show. Because before you know it, you're like binging on TV or like binging on a whole Netflix series. So like, you good?
I'm very good. I'm fine. I will. I was laughing at what you said. Because you said something about, binging on the show, and I was like, sometimes you could just end up down.
Yeah.
The Netflix worm.
I was like, if I'm going to be serious about what I'm trying to do, I got to limit that. And so I was like, I'm only watching one show at a time, even because there would be like tons of shows that I want to watch. It was like, yo, I only limit to one. The show's not going anywhere, especially these days. Like, there's Netflix, there's Hulu, there's all these different things you can go watch that show on your time. So I'll only do one show, and then obviously sports, like basketball. One show and basketball. The rest, I was either reading, learning, taking some course or something like that. So I took that same strategy to books, one at a time. It's like, 'cause it's easy for a reader, like I can pick up any one of these books someday and just start reading. But if I really want to finish books, I'll stick with one and just break that down to a formula. So like my goal is to I read like 5 pages like every 4 hours or something like that. Sometimes I read more just because I'm in that zone, but I try to but I keep my highlighter, obviously, and I highlight, of course. And I realize like sometimes when I'm reading, I'm not necessarily concentrating completely like I should.
Yeah, so, I do that sometimes.
So that's why I highlight the important stuff, which that means, because that's when I'm going to learn the information. Like, so when I'm reading, I was like, all right, I'm seeing the information. But like when I go back and see what I highlighted, that's me like actually learning what I need to learn from this book.
Right.
And that's which leads me to then the power hour where I write my scripts for this show. Or like, so this is where I'm going to teach what I just read in these books. You know what I mean? Or read in the video. So the best way to learn something and retain it is to hurry up and teach it. I don't even say hurry up, but if you teach it, you know it to a degree. And when you're like writing your scripts or whatever, you kind of can break it down like, all right, this is this. So you're retaining that information into a formula you can repeat over and over.
I agree with that. Because sometimes you know things in your head, but then you try to explain that to someone and you're like, dang, do I know this? I gotta go back because I don't think I know this as well as I think I know it. Because sometimes when you have to explain it to somebody, it helps you to understand it even better. So I get that about it.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it. And that's all. That's how I retain information from books faster. That's literally all I do. That's my strategy. And so yeah, as I read throughout the day, I keep a book with me. I keep a book in the highlight with me. And then when I sit down to do my power hour to go do my notes, I'm like, all right, I'll go to.
But don't keep a notebook.
I do have my notebook too. I have my notes on this book. But yeah, I'll show you right here. Bam. Copywriting secrets right up there. Got a whole page here. So, but then I use the book and my notebook to go write my scripts and like what I really want to say when I go teach it or talk about it during a show like this.
What's interesting is I always say, because like you're in a different field of writing than I am in, right?
Yeah.
And when you have that different style of writing, but then you apply you like formulas. When you take this formula that you have and you take it to nonfiction writing, like the way that I write, I think it's interesting that it's still they still coincide.
Yeah. Because I think about that too. Because like I was just honestly just thinking about that the other day. I was like, because as I read this book, like copywriting, like usually you're selling like a product or service or anything like that. More like, I feel like it's more like, I don't want to say personal development, like self-help, but that's kind of like, I don't know, the area I kind of lean towards. But when you're writing like a story to like entertain, I was like, how does that still, like, what would the sales copy look like for that? And like, how would you still, and I still follow the same structure. I'm like, ooh, you just do this. And it's like, so you're not even, it's just it. It's once you find that structure, it's like I think the paint of what it is different. So like what you were saying, you still need whether I was writing a self-help book or you was writing entertainment book, it's like you still need a headline, you still need a sub-headline, and you still need something to engage that piece of readers' interest. And like that's the formula you stick with. The words are going to be completely different, but that same structure is still the same.
I concur.
Yeah. That's really bang. By the way, if anybody wants to use a podcast like this to increase their book sales, go to www.onebooktowealthy.com and check out how I use a podcast to increase my book sales. So it's like a 10-minute video. It's less than 10 minutes. I think it's like 7. But check that out.
Cool. And I just want to be just like you when I grow up.
Maybe feel old sometimes when you say that. But
I mean, well, you in the
30s is lit.
You know, I keep hearing that though, and I'm tired of showing
I don't know what people so scared of. It's lit in a different way. It's lit in a very washed way. So, but it's lit nonetheless.
OneBookToWealthy.com.
OneBookToWealthy.com.
Okay. Everybody, Nepotism for Dinner.
Nepotism for Dinner is out, and you can go buy it. Buy it.
Broken Skin is still on pre-order. This Sunday, Valentine's Day, an erotic poetry novel is gonna be released, and I'm so excited. Like, this is gonna be my first baby. Like, this is gonna be the first baby I birthed to the world.
Well, I just had twins.
That's until you had triplets. Or you had okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
But you have triplets.
But speaking of that, I did redo the cover for for an hour play Keeps 95 away. I'm really excited to get that. Yeah, I just want to throw that in there. So they're all coming. They should be here around my birthday, February 25th. I'm thinking they're all gonna arrive at my door.
See, that's what you gotta.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if it got here. I wouldn't mind if it got here sooner. But you know, they'll be here soon enough.
All right, everybody, look out for a Broken Skin podcast. I'm gonna be back in full effect.
I gotta show you how to set up a scheduling link. I've scheduled like 5 people since this
I know I did, but then you know my technological struggles, my computer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I will not let technology hold me back.
You shouldn't. You should let it advance you.
We ain't gonna have this conversation. It's your girl, Diamond SKY. And I'm here with your boy, Wealthy Delivery, Devon Connors, Right is Block.
All right, Block Dog. Gang.
We out, y'all.
Peace.